Hello, everyone. I'm Minister James Moss. This is Continuing Education. All right, so here we go. We're in the book of Luke, and we're covering chapter 8. And in chapter 8, we're going to cover verses 4 through 8 in this particular video. This one is entitled, Jesus Tells the Parable of the Four Soils. Okay, so as we go through this, I want to make sure that I don't go past my point, which sometimes that will happen if I don't mark it off and then we get into something else and I'm like, oh my goodness. And then there's other times that I've actually gone back and read something different than what I was supposed to do. So, maybe charge it to the old age, all right? Nah. All right, so listen, here we go. This one's not going to be long. This one is Jesus tells the parable of the four soils, and we find this in the other gospels as well. So here we go. Jesus began teaching in parables to get his listeners to think. These parables hid the truth from those who had their minds made up, having already chosen to reject Jesus. Yet those who truly wanted to know Jesus could listen carefully and learn more about the kingdom of God. All right, so here we go. And when much people were gathered together and were come to him out of every city, he spake by a parable. A sower went out to sow his seed, and as he sowed, some fell by the wayside, and it was trodden down, and the fowls of the air devoured it. And some fell upon a rock, and as soon as it was sprung up, it withered away, because it lacked moisture. And some fell among thorns, and the thorns sprang up with it and choked it out. And other fell on good ground and sprang up and bare fruit 100-fold. And when he had said these things, he cried, He that hath ears, let him hear. Or he that hath ears to hear, let him hear. All right. So verse 4, Jesus often communicated with spiritual truth through short stories or descriptions that make a familiar object or situation and give it a startling new twist, often called parables. Jesus' parables compelled listeners to discover the truth for themselves, and they concealed the truth from those too lazy or dull to understand. Verse 5, in this parable, Jesus used a familiar picture to illustrate an important truth about the kingdom of heaven. In ancient times, when a farmer went out to plant some seed, he walked across the field and scattered handfuls of seed from a large bag slung across his shoulders. The farmer scattered the seed liberally, and some seed fell on the footpath. The hard and compacted soil of the path meant that the seed did not sink into the ground, so it sat on top where it was stepped on and where the birds came and ate it. In chapter 8, verse 12, Jesus explains that the devil comes and takes away the gospel message from hard hearts so that those people cannot hear or be saved. Jesus was speaking to the crowds about the kingdom, explaining through this parable that the religious leaders' rejection of the Messiah did not change the truth. Jesus and the gospel were truth. There was no problem with them, as there was no problem with the farmer or his seed. The only variable was the land where the seed fell, basically, which was the land was the heart, and the seed was the word. All right. Verse 6, other handfuls of seed fell on shallow soil with underlying rock. The footpath had no soil at all, but on the shallow soil, the seed began to grow. This type of soil was probably found in every farmer's field. Most of the land in Palestine is very rocky, filled with stones of all sizes. Soil on top of the rocks traps the moisture so that plants can grow quickly, but the roots cannot go deep. The hot sun then dries up the water, causing the young plant to wither and die for lack of moisture. In chapter 8, verse 13, Jesus explains that those with hearts like this may hear the word at first receive it with joy. But like the crowds who follow, when the going gets tough, they fall away. Verse 7, Thorns rob sprouts of nutrition, water, light, and space. Thus, when the thorns grew, the good seed was choked out and could not grow to maturity. In verse 14, Jesus explains that those with thorny hearts may receive the message, but then find it choked out by life's worries and attractions. Verse 8, some seed may be lost, but other seed fell on fertile soil. This soil had been plowed by the farmer, and the seed had ample sunlight, depth, and moisture to be able to grow. The seed produced a crop 100 times as much as had been planted. Normal yield for a good seed would be 7 to 10-fold. Any farmer would be enjoyed and overjoyed at such a tremendous yield, for it would mean even more seed to plant and harvest during the next year. In verse 15, Jesus explains that fertile soil people are those disciples who hear the word, hold on to it, and share it with others. Jesus understood that not everyone who heard him speak would listen and understand, referring to a different kind of hearing, a deep listening with the mind and heart that opens a person to spiritual understanding. Jesus' words, like the farmer's seed, fell on various types of hearts. All right, and this covers the parable of the four soils, according to Luke. So next, Jesus is going to go into an explanation of the four soils, okay? And once we get into that, he'll actually break down more and more how it applies to each particular soil. And when we covered some of it here, but it'll probably go a little bit more in detail. All right, so that does it for this particular video. Until next time, God bless you, God keep you, and remember, always keep studying.